When passion begins to fade, it rarely departs in a dramatic way. Instead, it softens, like the early morning light drifting into midday haze. One day, you wake up and realize that the dream you've carried for months or years, whether it's a creative project, career goal, or deeply personal mission, no longer stirs your heart. The routines that once energized you now feel automatic, as though you're sleepwalking through tasks you no longer truly care about. What used to light you up sounds hollow in your mind, and while others around you keep pressing forward, you're still standing, wondering where your spark ran off to. This isn't failure, it's evolution. Deep down, something shifted in the type of fuel you've been running on. Psychologists call this transition the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is the pure fuel that comes from internal excitement, curiosity, creativity, or meaning. It sustains itself. Extrinsic motivation is powered by external forces, praise, pay, validation, deadlines, or performance metrics. Early in your journey, intrinsic motivation may have carried you forward because the process felt alive, meaningful, or pure. But over time, the constant need to meet someone else's expectations, earn rewards, or prove yourself may have shifted that balance. What was once driven by authentic joy can become propped up by obligation. One moment you're inspired, the next you're drained. Research supports this phenomenon. When a reward is introduced to something you already enjoy, like a cash bonus, a trophy, or public acclaim, the added incentive can actually dampen the original thrill. In classic studies, participants who received rewards for puzzles, they enjoyed playing lost interest once the reward was withdrawn. The external boost overshadowed the internal drive, and their curiosity dimmed. What was once soulful became transactional. That's why when passion fades, it doesn't come with self-loathing or self-reproach. It comes with fatigue. It feels flat. It shows up as guilt. Maybe I'm not disciplined enough. Or as confusion. Maybe they had something I didn't. Or as fear. If I don't care, do I still matter? But in truth, none of those are the problem. The problem is simply that your underlying drive has shifted, and likely without you noticing until it dimmed. If you're wondering whether that spark is gone forever, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, when did you last engage in your work or passion purely because you wanted to, not because you needed approval, praise, or a paycheck? If you have to think hard to remember, that silence is a clue. Your drive is leaning too much on external momentum, not enough on inner meaning. This moment isn't a breakdown, it's a wake-up. The flame is not extinguished, it's ready for a new fuel. The core question isn't, how do I fix myself? The question is, what actually lights me up now? This is where the whisper begins, not the roar. When that whisper emerges, you'll know what feels true again, not because it's loud or flashy, but because it hums with resonance. And this space, this quiet, is fertile. It's where your next chapter quietly takes seed. You may not realize how often external rewards, bonuses, promotions, public praise, become the background soundtrack of your pursuits, gradually reshaping why you do what you do. At first, these rewards feel affirming. They tell you you're good at something, that you're visible, that your efforts are meaningful. But over time, they can quietly and subtly shift your motivation away from what once felt genuinely alive toward what now feels like a performance to sustain expectations. What often happens is deceptively simple. You began a task or project fueled by curiosity, creativity, or a sense of purpose. It held its own value, an invitation to explore. But as external rewards, like money, validation, or status, entered the picture, your relationship to that activity began to change. Suddenly, what you once pursued for the inner satisfaction of doing it becomes framed by results, by outcomes, by what others will think or reward. This phenomenon is known as the over-justification effect. In classic experiments, people who were already intrinsically motivated, who enjoyed solving puzzles for their own sake, began to lose that motivation when they were paid to complete the puzzles. And when the payment stopped, so did much of their enthusiasm. Their motivation had shifted from a self-sustaining drive to a transactional mindset. It can feel worse than neutral, because the shift often eats away at the heart of what once felt meaningful. Tasks become chores, and creativity turns into routine. You don't feel passionate anymore. You feel responsible. You recognize yourself less in your work. You may still be achieving, but the joy of creation has thinned. Awareness is the key. Ask yourself, when was the last time you did something purely to explore it? No goal, no paycheck, no audience, even for just 10 minutes. If that inner spark is distant, it's a sign that your drive may be leaning heavily on the outside. This realization isn't a sign that you failed or that your passion never existed. Instead, it's a powerful turning point. It shows that you've reached a space where you need to remember the original spark. You need to return to what invited you before the applause arrived. That doesn't mean rejecting external rewards. They have their place. But letting them become your primary fuel can erode the deeper energy that once inspired you. Your invitation now is to rebalance. Let external recognition support you, not define you. Look for small corners of joy to create, explore, or experiment, driven not by results, but by resonance. That shift from performance back to presence is where true, enduring passion can quietly re-emerge. When passion fades, a new force can arise: curiosity. It's quieter, less dramatic, yet profoundly alive. Neuroscience reveals that our brains are wired to explore, to notice novelty and seek meaning just for the sake of discovery. Specialized dopamine pathways activate when we encounter something new, illuminating attention, learning, and reward centers in the brain. This wiring isn't a luxury, it's an evolutionary gift designed to help us grow, adapt, and thrive. Imagine you're walking and you spot the way light shifts over a pattern of leaves. You pause, you stare. Just that moment of noticing, of leaning into curiosity, activates memory circuits, heightens your awareness, and releases a subtle burst of motivation, that inner nudge saying, yes, explore this. Whether it's flipping through a book because a word intrigues you, sketching a shape that caught your eye, or tinkering with a routine in your day, the act of curiosity is rising to presence, not pursuing performance. Curiosity doesn't carry the weight of expectation. It doesn't demand you produce or perform. It simply invites exploration. When you follow a thread of interest without goal or deadline, what surfaces isn't obligation, but aliveness. And the brain rewards that aliveness. Neural systems like the nucleus accumbens and prefrontal cortex light up, not because of external praise, but because curiosity itself feels good. These are the same circuits that make music move you or art captivate you. Proof that novelty is pleasurable, deeply and biologically. This spark is sustainable precisely because it doesn't demand much. It thrives on simple engagement, attention, patience, and an open mind. It doesn't exhaust because it isn't hungry for reward. It's nourished by interest. It doesn't burn out because it doesn't chase applause. It savors presence. It reconnects you with yourself, opening pathways to layers of thought and emotion that habit had buried. So here's the quiet invitation. Invite curiosity into your day in a small way. Ask a question you've never asked before. Observe the texture of an object. Sketch a fleeting idea. Sit quietly and notice the first thought that comes. Allow yourself to explore without any agenda or expectation. These small acts are not frivolous. They are essential. They plant the seeds of real engagement and meaningful growth. When you follow curiosity, you aren't just easing boredom. You're retraining your system to value exploration over compliance. You're crafting a new motivational landscape, one built not on external approval, but on internal resonance. And when curiosity takes root more deeply, it guides you back toward passion, not like a roaring flame, but like a gentle, enduring glow. In its light, action becomes chosen rather than forced. Creation becomes expression rather than obligation. When passion begins to wane and curiosity feels dimmed, another state can emerge that brings profound depth and presence. Flow. This isn't fueled by adrenaline or external demands. It's a calm, immersive experience where your usual sense of time softens or even vanishes. Flow isn't about chasing finishes. It's about being fully absorbed in the moment, where doing becomes effortless and focus feels natural. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi discovered that flow arises when our skills and the challenge before us align in harmony, creating a seamless rhythm of attention. In that state, self-consciousness retreats, time alters, it might speed up or slow down, and each action flows intuitively from the one before. You become one with whatever you're doing, whether it's writing, crafting, analyzing, or simply being present with a task. Flow can unfold in small, quiet moments. A stretch of concentrated writing, where words come unforced, hands shaping clay with a sense of ease, or sinking into a book so deeply that the rest of the world disappears. These moments are not grand, they are humble immersions, quietly available to anyone who creates the right conditions. Modern neuroscience supports Csikszentmihalyi's observations. When we enter flow, brain regions responsible for self-monitoring, especially parts of the prefrontal cortex, calm down. Meanwhile, systems involved in attention, motivation, and reward begin to hum in gentle synchrony. Neurochemicals like dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, norepinephrine, and anandamide are released subtly, nourishing our energy rather than overloading it. This unique neurochemical mix sustains performance, deepens focus, and quiets self-doubt and external noise. To cultivate flow, you don't need a grand setting, just the right conditions. These include a distraction-free environment where attention can settle, tasks that feel personally meaningful, and a challenge that stretches you enough to stay present without overwhelming you. When that balance emerges, flow can take hold, even in the humblest contexts. Your pen on paper, your hands at work, your mind attuned to a silent rhythm. In that gentle immersion, creativity and clarity arise without force. You emerge from those moments not exhausted, but refreshed, renewed in body and mind. Flow doesn't ask you to be louder or faster. It invites you to be more fully yourself. So consider this an invitation. Cultivate spaces of quiet attention. Put your mind into something small but meaningful. Notice how it feels when you stop trying to produce and allow yourself only to be present. With enough of these moments, a deeper sense of coherence and purpose begins to return. Not in bursts, but as a steady thread woven through your days. As passion subsides and quiet curiosity and flow begin to emerge, something transformative is taking place beneath the surface. The clearing of space for your own next chapter. Organizational and positive psychology increasingly affirm that when we abandon pursuits misaligned with our values, our overall sense of well-being often improves. They call this person-environment fit. Studies have shown that letting go of tasks or roles that no longer resonate can lead to deeper satisfaction, greater authenticity, and renewed purpose. This doesn't mean discarding ambition, it means recalibrating it. When passion fades, it is not a door closing, it is a door swinging open. Behind that door is an opportunity to lean into quieter forms of engagement, curiosity, flow, experimentation. These are not mere distractions. They are the invitations of an evolving self, inviting you to test small impulses, to wonder, and to create without pressure. So here's your invitation for the next phase. Begin with small-scale experiments driven by curiosity, free from external demands. Try 10 minutes of gentle exploration, a sketch, a snippet of writing, a moment of silence to notice what arises. Not because you need to produce something remarkable, but because you're rooting yourself in presence. These micro-actions matter. They are telling signals. They calibrate your internal compass away from performance toward authenticity. They help you test what feels alive, not what looks impressive. And slowly, through steady episodes of curiosity and flow, a new purpose begins to coalesce. One that sits well in your body, that hums in your heart, that resonates at your core. In abandoning what no longer works, you leave behind what never suited you. And in that brave space, you begin to rebuild from the inside out, with purpose that isn't borrowed, but born, with motivation that sustains rather than depletes, with growth that loves you back. Your next chapter isn't found. It's quietly authored by your willingness to listen, to try, to rest, and to feel who you are becoming. As curiosity begins to stir, the question becomes not which grand goal you should chase next, but how you can listen, really listen, to those subtle inner signals. This phase isn't about doing more, it's about noticing, experimenting, tuning in. It's about creating small invitations that whisper rather than shout, moments that allow you to feel what moves you, not what you think you should be. You might begin with journaling, but not the type that demands pages of grand insight. Just brief, gentle queries that bring your attention inward. Ask yourself, what first drew you to this experience? Can you remember a moment of delight or surprise, however small, when working on something? What sensations are alive in your body right now? What color or texture are you noticing in your surroundings? These prompts are less about crafting a narrative and more about gently noticing what is already present. Or you might try simple sensory grounding. Pick one sense, sight, sound, touch, smell, or taste. Sit with it. What do you hear in the space around you? What textures rest beneath your fingertips? You don't need to write a poem. You just need to register awareness. When you lean into this curiosity, the world begins to unfold with texture and color you might have been overlooking. Then move towards small creative acts, completely free of external expectations. Sketch with your non-dominant hand. Rearrange a corner of your living space. Try making tea with new spices, noticing how the room changes as steam rises. Let these actions be low stakes but high sensation. They are experiments, not obligations. You are listening for resonance, not performance. As these curiosity-based invitations become familiar, they begin to guide your attention toward what feels intrinsically satisfying, an idea, a rhythm, a simple expression. Over time, these small acts accumulate. They begin to shape not just your days, but also inform what your next purpose might be. Something nourished from the inside out. What matters most is the tone you bring. Gentle, compassionate, curious. This isn't about discipline or achievement. It's about staying awake to what surfaces when you stop demanding and start allowing. It's about feeling safe enough to try, to pause, to sense. So create your curious space now. 5 minutes of journaling, one sensory pause, one small creative moment. Do it without expectation. Keep track, not necessarily in words, but in notes, in feelings, in gentle check-ins. If something feels interesting, lean in a bit more tomorrow. If nothing feels strong, lean in lightly again. Gradually, you will begin to recognize patterns, not performance, but presence indicating what matters. Because when curiosity leads, it doesn't shout, it nudges, it hums. And in that hum, you'll discover the shape of things worth following, organic, sustained, and truly yours. As we move beyond chasing passion and toward receiving what truly moves us, let this moment mark a quiet graduation, a shift from effort-driven living to presence-led being. You are not giving up because you're out of fuel. You're graduating because you've outgrown the old race. What once demanded hunger and toil now gently invites warmth and openness. Think for a moment of chasing light, dashing toward the sun, as if your life depended on its brightness. It's thrilling, but often exhausting. It can leave you scorched, gasping for breath, still unsure of where the light really lives. In contrast, consider resting in warmth, the soft, steady glow of a hearth, or the comfort of sunlight through a window on a cool morning. That warmth isn't about intensity or spectacle. It simply is. It flows. That difference matters. When curiosity becomes your guide, you stop sprinting after hype and start resting in steady glow. You stop sculpting your life around excitement and start tuning in to what murmurs beneath the surface. You ease into wisdom rather than rush to accomplishment. This is not settling. This is returning to yourself, to your own timing and your own rhythms. With each curiosity-led moment, you affirm that you trust what arises in your heart and body more than what appears urgent or flashy. You're stepping into a more sustainable way of living, one rooted in wonder, patience, and gentle regard. So here's your invitation. No sweeping resolutions, no performance pressure. Just one quiet curiosity at a time. Notice what feels even slightly interesting. Lean into it with kindness. Allow yourself to receive delight rather than chase it. Let small wonders become testaments to your evolving path. You don't have to leap toward a grand vision. You belong in this quieter space of receiving, noticing, unfolding. You're not pausing your life. You're elevating it, reframing it, opening it to deeper presence. May you walk forward from this point, not with clenched hands, but with open palms, ready to receive the subtle warmth that arrives when chasing finally gives way to receiving.